Hi, I'm Jules Mitchell. This is my friend Christine. We're here today to bring you a restorative yoga class called Quiet Time. We enjoyed making up this name because kids get quiet time all the time, but adults rarely take quiet time. So this is for you to kind of section off a 30-minute segment of your day that's just for you. If you have kids or pets around, keep them busy so that you can really take this time for yourself to be quiet. I'm going to start with the best pose that you can ever do for yourself. I say that about all the poses. But this one is so important that if you don't get to the rest of the class, I'm okay with that, if you just do this single pose. And it comes from the Alexander technique. I won't go down that rabbit hole on what that is, but it's just a different movement modality. And the pose is called constructive rest. And it's really quite simple. You lay on your back and you rest. So Christine's going to lie down on her back. What you do need, however, bend your knees up. What you do need, however, is a blanket of some sort or a pillow or something and a strap that has a buckle on it. And the idea is that you fully support your legs so that you don't have to do any work to hold them up. Bend your knees a little bit more. Yeah. So if I just leave Christine here, yes, she'll relax, but because of gravity, the legs will just slightly want to drop open. So she's having to use muscles, yes, at a very low level, but she's having to use muscles to hold her legs upright. So if I give her this blanket that I'm just putting into this big chunk here and put it in between her legs, she can take her feet out. Now she has to use some muscles to hold the blanket up. But what I'm going to do is belt it all together so that she has some cushioning between the knees and that she also has the support of the belt around her thighs and the blanket so that she doesn't have to do anything. And making it nice. How's that? Oh, she's like huge grin on her face. So if I just belted her without something in between, then it would obviously draw the knees together. And this way, there's forces on the inside pushing out and on the outside pushing in. And if you watch any of my active classes, you'll see that that's a very common theme in my classes, reaching out and pulling in. You'll see that in many of my classes. So here the props are doing the skill for her. And you rest. Again, like I said, if you just do this, you can turn it off and do this for 20 minutes. I'd be very happy. But I'm going to leave you here for about 4 minutes or so. Occasionally, I'll just guide you on what to focus on. Once you've got it all set up for yourself, you'll obviously lower yourself back down. And then once you've settled, just start to do some body mapping. Notice your feet and how they touch the mat, and how much of your feet touch the mat. And if they're pointing the same direction, don't make any changes. Just observe. How does your right foot behave and feel differently than your left foot? If you really take the time to observe the feeling, you'll feel like one foot belongs to you and the other foot belongs to somebody else. That's how different it is. And then take your attention to your pelvis. Notice how much of it is touching the floor. Notice if one side feels heavier than the other. Notice if one side is closer to a shoulder than the other. Many of us have just a little bit of bending and rotation naturally in our posture. Just see if you can observe what side that is. And take your attention to the back of your rib cage, your shoulder blades, and how much of that is on the floor. One side of your rib cage feel heavier than another. Does one shoulder blade feel heavier than another? Does one shoulder blade feel closer to your ear than the other? Just another minute or so here. The process of body mapping is very valuable in developing what we call interoception, which is a little different than proprioception. Interoception is less about where you are in space and more just about how you are. Not where you are, but just that you are, I should say. That you have an awareness of your knee, or that you can feel the skin on the outside of your leg. And this is one of the great benefits of a yoga practice, is that we get this sense of self is heightened. Take your last few breaths here. You can slowly reach down and loosen the belt, or you can roll up to loosen it if you need to. I'm just going to take this off for Christine. Nice. Sadly, you have to get up. The next pose is going to be a twist, face down. So we'll do your right side first, so your knees are going to face that way. I do this in a lot of my restorative classes, so if you've watched them before, it's quite familiar. I'm just going to cue it a little bit for the people at home. So basically, Christine has the bolster, or you can just use some folded up blankets stacked together. That works fine too. You don't need a bolster. And she's basically bringing the right side of the pelvis right into the middle of the bolster. And she's just got her legs stacked. And now what she's going to do is turn, and try to get the left chest down first. That's the challenge here. The left chest down first. She can have her face her knees, which is less of a twist, or face away from her knees, which is more of a twist, which not everybody's neck might like that. So it's up to you. And then the legs, there's a ton of different leg variations here. So I just usually teach them stacked like this and enjoy mostly putting a blanket between the legs, lift your top knee, just so there's a little support. You can do some pinwheel stuff if you're familiar with that. I'm fine with that as well. Go ahead and come up, Christine. Try again. Wait, hold on. I'm just elevating one side for her. Oh, yeah. Oh, she says way better. So she was just a little bit angled. So I basically took the lower side and propped it up so that the top side could drop down. She could probably even use a little more height, but it's okay. Just looking for some relaxation. One of the most quiet poses in a yoga practice is this one. It's sort of a cross between a twist and child's pose. Very calming and soothing. If your head is turned away from your knees, please turn it to face your knees. If you're already facing your knees, just stay there. And then gently, slowly use your hands, slide them back and push yourself all the way up. And you'll turn around to do the other side. I'm just taking this blanket away because I don't know what Christine's going to look like on this side. Chances are it's very, very different. So I'm just going to start her out with the neutral version first. Oh, it is very different, but she needs it even more on this side. I'm going to move this so that it's more at the center of your pelvis, right here. And this needs to be thicker. Let's try that. Okay, now try. Yes, yes. Come up. Yes. Uh-huh. Is that all right? Great. Lift this arm. Lift it more. Better. I'm just providing a little bit of directional force here. She needs it. It's like a brick, she says. I always forget the exact numbers. It's something like, I don't know, 60-some, 70-some joints of the rib cage. And I know there's 140 total in the spine and in the rib cage. And that's about 1/3 of the joints in the human body that are all right here on these two axes. In order to twist, all of those joints need to contribute. Most of us are pretty limited in our spinal articulation. And these quiet poses allow you to be in the shape for a while so that your nervous system becomes familiar with it. If your head is facing away from your knees, please turn your head to face your knees. And then using your hands, you'll push yourself up, first sliding them back, and come all the way up. How does that feel? My favorite pose. Okay, now we're going to do our most quintessential yoga pose, restorative yoga pose ever, which is Supta Baddha Konasana. So maybe slide forward a little bit on the mat. I'll place the bolster behind you lengthwise. I have a belt prepared. So the belt goes over you at your sacrum, at the top of your pelvis, and it comes over across your feet. And then you tighten it as much as you want to. So just make sure it's like kind of where your waistband would be, I guess. Tighten it more. Okay, and then from there, you'll start to lean back, but I think I'm gonna angle this for you. I'm just gonna angle the bolster for Christine because I know her. Okay, come on back. And I'm going to give her a little roll under the thigh. You can put your hand on that one. Give me that. Has to be the same. Roll it this way. Are they even? One's higher than the other. There, you're good. There's the sigh again. If you want to make it a little bit more calming, you could put some eye pillows in your palms, which will really have your hands, which are generally holding tension, which will have them relax a little bit. You can buy some really cool eye pillows at zetabody.com. Christine makes eye pillows, and that's her website. And I often get a question about this pose on where the feet are supposed to be, close to the pelvis, further away from the pelvis. And the answer is, it doesn't matter. What feels best, what allows you to relax, and that it's not always the exact same. A variety of angles, a variety of joint positions for the knee is best. So change it up from time to time. Oh, one more minute here. Beauty of these poses is there's nothing to do or nothing to see. Once you've learned how to set yourself up in them, you just rest. You allow the support, the props to help you relax. We are constantly bombarded with stimuli, from sound to sight. And taking some quiet time for yourself is really, really good for boosting the rest and digest component of the nervous system. This is when healing occurs. And then from here, you'll move very, very slowly and gently. Many of you can just reach down for the buckle. I'll go ahead and do it for Christine. Hold on. Many of you also tend to, Christine was just about to do it, bring her knees together. I don't want you to do that because you've basically just put a directional load on the inner thigh, muscles and tendons and all that good stuff. And we want to sort of maintain that directional load. The cells respond to that direction, and they produce collagen based on the direction of the load. And so instead of having you bring your knees together, I just want to have you keep that length. And so I'm going to have you instead, I'm going to take this out, slide your legs straight out, but keep the knees low. You can bring them together, but just keep them low. Yeah, so you just continued that direction. And then you can press through your hands and come on up. You can bend your knees, whatever you need to do, and come on up. Did you feel the difference? Yeah. Other than undoing what you just did for the last 4 minutes by bringing the legs together, you just kind of encourage it through the next pose. Okay, this one's my personal favorite. It's a bridge pose or a shoulder stand version of bridge, but it's got 2 bolsters. Anything with 2 bolsters is great. Let me get this out of the way. So I'm probably gonna have you turn around and have your head that way. And so I'm just gonna stack 2 bolsters on top of each other, and Christine's gonna sit on them. If you're taller, you might need 3 bolsters. You can also use folded blankets. And what she's going to do is she's gonna slide off just enough so that her shoulders touch the ground. So slide off a little bit more. And this might be too high for you. No? A little bit more, so your shoulders are on the ground. There, yeah, better, okay. And you can put your arms anywhere you want. Some people like this kind of goalpost look. Yeah, it's not too bad. Little extra, little lower wouldn't hurt, but it's okay. I'm fine with it. And so what's really happening here is it's a shoulder stand because it's her shoulder head that's on the floor. If her shoulder blades were on the floor, she would have slid off too far. With her shoulder blades on the floor, what she's getting is a nice stretch across here. And across here is where the diaphragm muscle runs. So underneath the diaphragm muscle are all the organs, and above are the heart and lungs. And so there's space in between those 2 cavities of the body so that the diaphragm can have space to move, to relax and contract. Bend your knees up. Good. Okay. And then many of us have a slight turnout, or we just don't want to do the work here to hold our legs up. So I'm going to take a belt. I'm basically just going to belt her in. You can do this for yourself once you measure where you need to be, and then you can go ahead and slide down into the position after that. But of course, if you have someone to do it for you, why not? Don't get your kids out of the quiet time, though. if they're around and they will take you out of the zone you're in, then don't ask them to do it. Many of my clients with kids tell me all day the stories about how they get climbed all over while they're trying to practice yoga. Lift. Okay. Yep. I'm just belting, in case you're in the pose, just so you know, I'm just belting at the top thighs, at the top shins, and at the ankle. Just so she gets lots and lots of feedback from the belts on this integrity in the legs without her having to actually do anything. Lift. Yep. Feel okay? Yeah? Trapped in there? Yes. Mummified. You're also crooked. Yep. That's what it is to be human. Just keep focusing on the breath. Notice the space around the diaphragm. Anyway, about 30 more seconds here. I'm just going to slowly undo the belts for Christine, but you don't have to. You can stay just a little longer. Now I'm pulling you more crooked. And as the last time, when it is time to come out, again, the instinct will probably be what I don't want you to do. The instinct will probably be to pop up. But what I'd like you to do is to actually slide all the way backwards off the bolster. So just push yourself back. Push yourself back. Yep. And then you can rest with your legs on the bolster even. Then you can bend your knees up and roll to one side and come on up. Join us over here on the mat again, Christine. Stretch your legs out in front of you. Very last pose is a nice forward bend to just lengthen the back of the body to prepare you for Shavasana, to rest. So I don't know how you're going to need to be set up. I'm just going to look at Christine and go from there. So show me what a forward bend looks like for you. Okay, go ahead and bend your knees up. Actually, that might work. Yep. Okay. Let me get some more bolsters. I think we can, if we bend your knees up, I think we could do it this way. No, they're bent up like that. Let's just see what happens when you go here. Can you reach for that? Can you bring it closer to you? I'm going to roll it away. Is it going to be on your knees, or is that okay? Yeah, I would do it that way. Yeah, we're not going to stay here too long. I put a bolster under her knees to bend her knees, which will give her a little bit more of a hip hinge. She doesn't need to be elevated on the hips. She's sitting on her sitting bones, but this is a nice balance. And again, if you've watched any of our classes together, we know that Christine likes the weight of the bolster on her arms, so this is actually a very nice version for her. Once you do this stuff a lot, you figure it out for yourself and you know what you like. You're just going to be here about another 30 seconds. This doesn't have to be a very long hold. See if you can envision the same sort of umbrella-shaped diaphragm in the back of the body now, right? Because it attaches to the back of the ribs and the front of the ribs. And see if you can find that sort of space for your breath. Good. And then from here, just slowly roll yourself back down into Shavasana. I'm going to keep the bolster there under your knees. Put the other one under your feet. Lift higher. Yes. There she goes again. And just finish out your quiet time with a good 5-10 minute Shavasana. And when you get up, you should feel great, like you've rewarded yourself with some adult quiet time. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Namaste.